Hello, welcome back to another episode of the launch sequence. Today, episode 36. We keep on going. And today I have a good friend, a returning guest, and a big part of the Star Citizen community, my friend Griffin Gaming RPG, head of Soul Citizens. How are you doing today, dude?
Pretty good. I'm a big part, like big this way. I think. I don't know about.
I mean, everybody knows you though.
You're fitting, but you fit on your screen. I don't even fit on my screen, so I'm a big part of.
It's my lens.
The community.
I get that lens that makes me look a little smaller.
Okay, fair enough.
But thank you for coming on today, man.
Oh, thanks, man. It was, always, man. Whenever I hear from you, it's always great. I mean, we've been corresponding now for over a year, you know, and. From your transition back to the States and everything. I'm happy to have you back here because you've been able to do more work since you've been back.
Yeah. We get to meet at normal times.
And you know what? Maybe we'll get to meet at CitizenCon this year. Maybe.
I'm looking. Yeah, that's the plan. Hopefully. I hope it happens. But I will be there.
Forward. Me too.
How many have you been to?
Two. I went to the one in 2016, and that was in LA. Then I went to the one in 2018 in Austin. And then I went to what they had was VerseCon. Had you heard about that at all?
Yes.
Okay, that's the one that they sponsor here whenever they have it someplace else. And they do that down in Austin. And I went both times for that in 2017 and 19. So I feel like I've been to four of them. But I've only been to two CitizenCon.
Basically so four, though. Cool. I mean,
I mean, it was great. It was great. Yeah, I mean, people you still had people who came from all over the U.S. to come down to Austin for the VerseCons, which was nice.
Yeah. And where are you based out of?
I'm in Chicago.
Midwest. Right, that's what I thought. So out there with Paul, right?
Yeah. Well, no, Paul's down in Austin. Paul's in Austin.
Am I getting that mixed up?
Yeah. Well, I'm trying to think of who else you might know that is
in
here.
Chicago.
Dark Knight, who's in my team, lives here.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like there's somebody else in Chicago.
There might be somebody who's here. I wouldn't be surprised.
You know what it was? I knew somebody who was moving, who was looking at Chicago. Somebody else, has been on the podcast who was looking at Chicago.
Yeah, like Paul's in Austin, Buster's in Austin. There are a few of them down there in Texas area.
It's the place to be.
Yeah.
If you're not in, I guess, Manchester now.
Yeah, for real. Yeah.
Well, anyways, before we get too deep into Star Citizen stuff, we got a good talk for everybody about the new player experience today. We're going to talk about all the facets, making money, what ships you have available to you, what it's like for new players, and how they can improve it. Before we get to that, you put out a Soul Citizens episode earlier in kind of the beginning of January that I really liked, and I've been wanting to do something like where you looked at sort of just the new sci-fi space games coming out this year. I love that. I love Star Citizen, I do, but there's a lot going on in that scene, and some of it is pretty ugly. but you guys had a long conversation about that, and I kind of wanted to just bring it up and ask, if you could generalize your opinions on all those games, sort of like what you're looking forward to this year, what you're kind of skeptical about, what you think is going to be something to just completely ignore.
Yeah, it's interesting because, as you know, our little short-term Star Citizen history here, when Chris Roberts and David Braben came back and introduced the whole thing about Elite and Star Citizen coming back, space games had pretty much fallen off the map when it came down to players.
Yeah.
And within a few years of that, we had all of a sudden these space games popping up. A lot of different games popped up. A lot of people tried to incorporate space elements to even Call of Duty tried to implement a space element at one point. And then there was the rise of the other games that came up, games like No Man's Sky, for example, and a few other ones, Space Engineers, some other stuff. And it kind of brought back a little bit of the space craze. But then it kind of tapered off a little bit. And now we seem to be coming through another wave. I think the ones that are probably of the most impact that we reviewed, one of them obviously being Bethesda's new franchise they're opening up for Starfield, which I think a lot of people are looking forward to just because of Bethesda's history with RPGs. And
now, real quick on that one.
Yeah.
Because I feel like 50% of the time I say the name of that game, the first response out of anybody's, the first response out of anybody else's mouth is, but it's Bethesda. The game's not going to be good. Their games have been not doing well lately. What's your take on that?
My take on it is that Bethesda can't afford for it not to be good. This game has been in development for over 10 years. They've talked about it, thinking about it for even longer than that. They've pushed it back once already because we were supposed to see it in 2021. They pushed it back to November of this year, 2022.
Did they? Really? Did they confirm it was supposed to come last year?
Yeah. No, it was originally last year, and then they pushed it back. What's interesting about that is I think Bethesda has a lot gambling on this game. I think that most people are thinking about wanting to go back to what Fallout was, not Fallout 76, but what Fallout was, what Skyrim was. These games that have been around a long time with a lot of playability,
the bread and butter.
And from looking at the developer videos that they've put out so far, it seems like they are committed to that they are trying to make something with longevity. But they cannot afford for this not to do well. Yeah, there's a lot riding on it for their company, I think, and not just them. We talked about this a few weeks ago too, that there's been a lot of disappointment in those AAA developers that previously, when we knew there was a game coming out, we just knew this was going to be the bomb.
Yep.
But even what we saw happen with CD Projekt, Red with Cyberpunk, long history of creating a great game, but we saw some failures there, and that's not typical. So whether that's because of the hand of corporates and stockholders, or whether it's just that they're not doing their timelines right, they're just trying to keep up. I don't know what it is. I know with CD Projekt Red, there was a lot of pressure on them with the holiday season, then Microsoft, a whole bunch of other stuff with consoles. But Bethesda cannot afford for this game not to do well. Yeah. And so I think that they are putting every energy into this game because they do want it to be something that, not 6 months later, people aren't playing it anymore.
Yeah. Agreed.
The other game I would say would be Star Atlas. Star Atlas, introducing a whole different dynamic, not just of the space genre, but introducing the idea of crypto and blockchaining into games. That's not new for some games, but for a large-scale space drama or space game, it is. I'm still trying to find out details about it. I'm following it. I go to their site and visit and try to read, and I watch other stuff. They've already started the financial end of it. The question is whether or not they can create the technical game side of it, because people are willing to try to get in on that early aspect of money, with crypto and making money.
Yeah.
But can they create a world that supports that in a way that people generate an economy and, do all the things they need to do to keep it going?
Right.
Especially because they've created their own, currency and everything. It's going to be their tough part. Now, they say 2025 before we see the very first beginnings of anything, and they say 10 years at least. And it's funny because they say it so casually now, but when we said that about Star Citizen, people were going crazy, right?
Oh boy.
I mean, I think there are 2 ships in Star Atlas that run around $20. After that, it jumps to 150, then 4 digits. And I think their most expensive ship, at least when it started out, was $99,000.
Whoa.
Real money.
Wow.
And nobody coughed. Nobody said a word about it.
That's pretty mind-blowing. So I was ready for you to be like, oh yeah, 30,000.
You know what the response is when people say that? You know what the response is? Yeah, but you own it. That's the response. Yeah, but you own it. It's $99,000. Yeah, but you own it. Okay.
If somebody was going to sell me a water bottle for $99,000, my argument wouldn't be, but I own it.
It is what it is, my brother. So, it'll be interesting to see how it unfolds. I'm not throwing any shade toward them. I'm just saying, look at how things have changed.
Yeah.
From when an ambitious project like Star Citizen was mentioned 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And now 10 years later, you have another ambitious project, but it's being a little bit more well received, for lack of a better way of saying it.
Is it? I actually don't really know much of. Not as much heat. Yeah. That's fair. It's
they're
lot
wrestling
more
with the crypto. They're wrestling more with the whole scam crypto thing right now.
Right.
That's what they're dealing with. They're not dealing with scam game, but they are dealing with whether or not crypto side of it is scam.
Right. I think my biggest thing about that game is I want to know the people who are at the top, who are making it, who have come up with it. I haven't really looked into this yet, but are they the type of people who want to make money in order to make something amazing, or are they wanting to make something amazing to make money? Because with Chris and with CIG, they do things that I know is kind of money hungry, things that I don't necessarily agree with when it comes to marketing, but I still come back to the idea that, hey, they're putting this money back into the game to make it. Now, it depends. I gotta know what the motive is with Star Atlas. I haven't read much into it.
Yeah, I don't want to counter you too much on the money grubbing side of it, because I know a lot of times it feels that way and it's interpreted that way.
Mm-hmm.
Did you see what the budget was for GTA 6 yet?
No.
They're estimating the budget is $500 million for GTA.
See, I have no problem with wanting to get money to make the game.
But you get my point.
Yeah.
I'm just saying the scale in numbers. CIG's at what, 400 million, a little 400 million. If we look at the overall amount of money that's generated in gaming, especially mobile gaming, right? Mobile gaming's bringing in an annual amount of $5 billion a year in mobile gaming. And then we have a game like Star Citizen that's taken 10 years to get 400 million. For me, I can't.
Yeah.
I get it. I'm just saying, to me, it's like 50 million a year to keep 6 studios running, employing people, putting out 2 games.
Well, yeah.
Even though I know that there are some people who feel that ships like the Cutlass Steel and some other things have been a little bit on the money grubbing side, and my answer to that is don't buy it. Don't buy it.
That's I put videos out. I put videos out telling them don't do it.
You do it all the time. Yeah. But I'm just saying, there are people who act like as if their arms being twisted,
right.
Like, oh God, I gotta buy this. No, just if you don't like it, don't buy it. But we also know that if there's no money, it's still a business. And I think some of it comes from the fact that those of us who started real early, when it was kind of like that grassroots, real homey feeling, and we know them and we know the people. Then when you start to see it grow into the more commercial business side, that's a painful transition.
I am, I'm writing a little script about that, because it is tough, but I feel like I need to put it down on paper. Because it's been a strong feeling the last year and a half or so, of that kind of a little bit of a shift from being, just this homey place where they're making a game, to a place that's like, hey, we've got a 10-year plan. We got to meet it. Let's do whatever needs to be done.
Yeah. And I'm glad you said that. I think they have to deliver. And this is something I'll say on your show. I've said it on mine, I think once or twice. I think it is imperative that CIG delivers something in 2022 that is significant. I think that the 10-year mark for them is important. Now, that's something that they deliver. Could be a major announcement. It could be pyro. It could be a trailer for Squadron 42. But there's something that has to change this year, because I thought last year we were going to start seeing revenue dip. I am totally perplexed that revenue went the way it went this year. I am. But I also understand it a little bit more, that as the game becomes more stable and playable, then there's more reasonableness for new players to come in and new people to embrace it. Mm-hmm. So I get why it may have happened, but I'm also a little nervous as to when are we going to start to see that top off?
Right.
Because everybody's bought every ship that they want. We're no longer melting. We're no longer CCUing. We're just kind of reaching that place. And I kind of feel like, especially after I listened to this year, how many people were CCUing, I really am starting to think that there's not going to be all this new ship buying, even when something really cool comes out. There are people who are going to be kind of waiting now and saying, okay, we want to see something that we can, jump in with. And if they put Squadron out, I think that'll be it, to be honest with you.
I mean, if they got Squadron's this year,
out, then,
and it was good,
people will be happy. People will be happy.
Yeah. I think I don't know about the revenue, like how that's going to work out, but I do feel like we are right at a time where they need to focus more on getting people to buy ships, like you said, and focus more on bringing new people in, which is like something that happened a lot in the last 2 years. But I feel like they need to focus very hard on making more of these loud and easily marketable events, because those are the hot spots, right? Xenothreat, Invictus Week, IAE. That's when like new players come in, try the game for free, buy a new ship. If they can keep doing that and keep this quality of life going, I feel like that's the strategy, at least for the next couple of years.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. Yeah.
Speaking of new players, though, why don't we start talking about the main topic for today, which is kind of the experience of jumping into this game for the first time, which, as we talked about before the podcast, you actually just got in with a new player today and kind of got to show him the game a little bit and let him see everything. I do this sometimes on my own streams and YouTube videos where we bring in a new player, and it's always the same, right? It reminds you of why you initially started playing the game.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And so at Soul Citizens, you guys see a lot of people coming in and sort of asking first questions. Do they just come into the Discord, or are you generally meeting them in servers?
No, we don't meet them in servers too much. We usually, most of the people who are in servers, they're the people who watch the show, and they kind of already know how crazy we are, and they'll join us. But I think from comments on the show, we do get some new folks that come in. That's a good question about new people. I get more dealing with new folks from my org, from being in test.
Okay,
That's where I probably run into them a little bit more. And of course, I love watching videos of people who are finding out about Star Citizen, for the first time.
Yeah, those are cool.
And I always look for those videos when someone's first time in Star Citizen, trying Star Citizen for the first time. And then even more, you and I were talking about earlier, especially last year, a lot of folks were testing it out during the free fly.
Yeah.
It was weird coincidence that when Odyssey came out with Elite, that there were a lot of people who were a little bit disenchanted with that, and they decided to give quote unquote Star Citizen a try because it was free. And to hear people who were familiar with the space genre enter that verse into our verse, and to hear their comparisons and the things that they saw. We've talked about Kate, Commander Kate, who came in. And I always remember watching her very first video where she got in an Avenger, and she went to pick up she did a cargo box run, and she puts the box. She was fascinated putting the box on her bed. And that was a big thing for her. Yeah. And she went and got in the ship. She took off. And then while she was flying, she says, I feel like I need to go back and check on that box to see if it's still there.
I don't believe it.
She literally was amazed that she could get out of her chair while the ship was flying, and she saw that box, and she was tickled to death. Now, you and I don't even think about those boxes. You know what I mean? It's like, it's back there.
We hate those boxes. Right. Fall through the ship, blow me up.
But to see that level of excitement and fascination in someone who is a space game player, was gratifying. And so even today, the person we were with today, who is a very familiar person in that community, was just enamored with and he has said, it's amazing that I can just go on these ships. I don't even have to fly anywhere. I can just walk around these ships for a half hour and 45 minutes and just be amazed at things that I see.
Yeah.
So for new players coming in, there is a learning curve. It's always better when there's someone there that can help you. There's obviously the point of discovery, right, where you learn things on your own. But because there is no quote unquote reference manual, I mean, you can find some videos that are out there. But there's nothing that, like here, this switch and this does this. It does take a little bit of nuance. And obviously when someone helps you, it's better.
Yeah. And we will talk in depth about that, because the lack of tutorials and kind of just helpful contextual clues is pretty damaging. But going back to kind of what people are calling, I guess, the migration, when a lot of people did, like you said, Odyssey came out, wasn't quite what a lot of people were hoping for, so they took a chance at Star Citizen. Many of the people who tried that, took that chance, were blown away by the fact that there was even a game to play, that there was anything going on, that ships were available to be bought in game. Just all of these things that people who are playing are just kind of like taking for granted. This is just how a game works. Whereas a lot of people outside of Star Citizen have no clue that you can actually play the game.
That's both, it's positive and it's negative, right?
Right, yeah.
And I've said this recently, that the more we go in this game, the more popular it becomes. There's also more struggle on CIG's part, so that people come in, they don't think that this is a finished game. People have talked about this about the commercials, right? They'll see a trailer, one of the commercials, and it gives you the impression, they'll say, you can do this now, in game now. And people think that some of the stuff that they see in there is going on, right? And there are some things that aren't going on in the game, right? That just aren't, right? And so you worry about that person who comes in thinking that they can do something, only to find out that, well, it's not there yet. It's 50% there, or they haven't implemented that mechanic or whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's the thing that I do worry about. For the longest time, we've always used that term. Well, it's still in alpha. It's in pre-alpha. It's alpha. But there's times when it doesn't feel that way. For some people, they come in the game and they say, wow, this does not feel like an alpha.
Yep.
Is that an excuse? Is that something that we continue to say 10 years later? Well, it's an alpha. Quit complaining. It's been 10 years,
Yeah.
And there's a truth to that. there is a truth that gives them some out. I don't want to say a legal out, but it gives them a legitimate out that it's still an alpha.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, we just did a show recently. One of my good friends, Rob Bahagri, was on, and he was saying how, yeah, but some of these bugs have been in the issue council, since 3.2, 3.1. They haven't been fixed yet. Is that going to happen? When are we going to be able to scan a rock and it doesn't, we don't get that rock that shows us nothing. It's been that way since mining came out,
Mm-hmm.
So those are the difficulties that I think that exist with new players coming into the game. You wish you could tell them that everything that works, that you see is working, but everything isn't always working.
Yeah. It's incredibly hard. It's an open development game, and game development clearly is incredibly hard. I mean, Star Citizen isn't the only game to prove this. Like you said earlier, Starfield has to prove that Bethesda's still on top of their stuff, because we've seen over the last at least 4, maybe 5 years now, at least half a dozen AAA games that have come out unfinished. It's not easy. And it's hard to explain to the people who are jumping into the game in that game environment that, hey, it's a game in development. This is what's happening. Nobody wants to hear that. So it's an interesting idea that people who are jumping into Star Citizen a lot of times come in not expecting a game, because it makes the game seem better when they do play it. But it also means that, you have that disappointment that the game's not actually finished.
Another thing that you mentioned this earlier is, what is the propaganda that's out there? I didn't know this. Being an Elite player, I had been intermittent with Elite. I was never one to go to the forums and spend all my time there. I just played the game.
Mm-hmm.
But it wasn't until later that I talked to some people who were very much in that community, who said that there was a certain level of negativity that permeates that community about Star Citizen.
I've heard
that they're still being told it's a scam, that it doesn't, and to this day that's still being said. I didn't know that. Honestly, didn't know that. So I that's why when I saw all this wonderment that came from these players when they came in, they're like, wow, this game is actually. I'm like, yeah, it's been a game. What are you talking about? I didn't know that had been the tone that was being set, not just in that community, but there are a lot of other communities that still said that there's nothing to do. I don't know how many online articles I've read where there's nothing to do in the game, but there's nothing to do.
I saw a video on YouTube the other day where he scrolled through the list of ships saying that you couldn't fly them in game, and it's like 4 out of 6 of the ships he showed were already in the game. I'm like, dude, it's just how it is.
Dig That 32 just put out a really good video, and I'll send you the link for it later.
Yeah. Is it worth it? Yeah.
He names all the stuff. That was such a cool thing that he did. He said, if you don't like this, you can do this. You can do this. You can. And he's going down all the list of things, and it kind of was like an eye opener for me. Even like, oh yeah, Dig's got that voice. but it was like, wow, he's right. There's about 34 different things he named here. That you can do in the game. But to see that there's still that, and of course you always wonder, have these online reviewers or online articles, did these people actually log into the game, or are they just continuing the narrative of what they've heard and what they've been told, or what they see on Reddit? I get it. I get it. I wonder if there's something even deeper than that, because I truly believe, some of these, what do I want to call them? Journalistic outlets are funded by other companies too. Mm-hmm. And I do wonder sometime whether some of the negative words that come out, whether this is also being funded from for other reasons, right? We've talked bad about it. It doesn't get attention because technically CIG does not do commercial marketing. They put out trailers for the community, but there's no advertisements. There's no commercials. That stuff doesn't run for the general gaming public to see. So, they don't know.
Which is why whenever IGN picks up a ship commercial and puts it on their channel, the comment section, whew.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Exactly. Yeah.
So let's start talking about the ships that a newcomer is going to be able to get when they jump into the game. They've got the 2 starter packages, the Mustang and the Aurora, and then they've got kind of like this mishmash of ships from anywhere like $45 to say $65 that are all kind of like your general, I might consider this. What's your take on the spread?
Well, starter ships, to me, it's funny because there are a lot of people who've been very dismissive of starter ships, right? They would say, they'd melt it and move up to something else. Yeah. I always say keep a starter ship. I always keep something. I keep an Aurora LX around all the time. They give you an MR for something. couple of reasons why, and I think a lot of us have found out reasons why, right? They spawn within 41 seconds, no matter where you are, right? Secondly, I get from here to there. Nobody shoots at me because they don't care about an Aurora MR.
You're not carrying anything.
I'm not going to waste my bullets on that guy.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Or my torpedo, right?
Probably wearing a hospital gown flying that.
Yeah, exactly. So for me, those ships are always. I always keep one. I always have one around. They get me from here to there. If I need to meet you on Lyria, I can leave it behind and don't care about it, right?
Yeah.
So from that aspect, they do have a purpose for me in the game. I also believe that once the game goes live, we'll see more people flying in those ships and smaller ships than bigger ships because of risk versus reward in some cases.
Yeah.
But you mentioned the MR and the Mustang. The Aurora and the Mustang, which were the two. You've got the Reliant Corre, which is considered a starter.
Yeah, you're right.
You've also got the what's the other ship? The Origin series 100.
Oh, the 100,
ships
100
that are series starters. Now those are my favorite of all.
Same.
The gas mileage is amazing in them,
and the 135.
Yes, the 135 for the cargo. They get you across the verse without having to stop. They're sleek, they're small, they're fast. Getting in and out of atmosphere. I don't care if you're on Orison, getting that thing, you're out of atmosphere in no time flat. So those starters are great. Morphologist just put out a really great video recently, though, just this week, where he talked about the new consolidated Outland bike.
Right.
And he put that inside of an Avenger Titan, which blew my mind because I didn't think it would fit in a Titan. It actually fits in a Titan with no problem.
Yeah.
And he said for a starter player, they graduated up to that Titan, which, a lot of people do, right? They'll leave those earlier starters and go to a Titan. But the fact that he was able to get in that ship, put that consolidated Outland bike in it, then he went and did a bunker mission. He landed his ship outside of the range of the guns, right?
Yeah.
Gets on the bike and rides in. I was like, wow.
Yeah.
What a great way for somebody who's solo playing, just getting started, but wants to do some of those missions. It worked.
Yeah. It's surprising actually how well the hovercrafts going into ships work now. I was able to get a Nox inside of a Pisces.
What?
It's like, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. It was not incredibly easy, but yeah, I did it on stream, kind of just pushed it in there and shut it down immediately, and it worked.
It was in.
Yeah.
Wow.
So with this new kind of hover rework and, like you said, having these starter ships with this space inside, suddenly the possibilities for a new player are pretty large.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
So you said your 100 series is your favorite.
Yeah, just because of the gas mileage. I mean, seriously, I remember the first time I took one out, I went from ArcCorp went to ArcCorp, went to all the moons at ArcCorp, then flew all the way to Microtech, did all the moons at Microtech, and then landed at New Babbage without fuel, without stopping for fuel.
Wow.
That was amazing.
Yeah.
I just love those ships. They're fast. I'm a big Origin fan anyway, but I just like those ships. I have a 100 and a 135.
I hope we get something else from Origin that's small. I want like a maybe a Cuddy competitor, something smaller than the Mercury Starwinder, but bigger than the 300 series. So I love Origin as well, and the newer kind of style that they're getting, the interior design, like the 400i was beautiful. The 890 jump is great. I'm sure the 600i rework is going to be good. So I hope we do get to see another small ship from them.
That'd be great. There's still room for a 200, a 500.
Yeah. Somewhere just slip it in there. So jumping up from those starter ships, because there are different types of starter ships in Star Citizen. Right. There's the starter ships that you'd get because they're cheap, they're easy to get, they're small, like you said. And then there's the profession starter ships, which are more expensive, but still the base of those professions.
Right.
We don't really have that many professions, but how do you think the support is there? Are you like, I've heard people say that we need a prospector competitor.
Well, yeah. I mean, that next level ships that you're talking about would be something like the Freelancer.
Yeah.
You're talking
Arrow.
about the Prospector.
Yeah.
You're talking about the Cuddy Black. You've also talked about the just flew out of my head, the Cuddy Black. Oh, the Vulture.
Yeah, the Vulture would be
salvage.
one.
That would be their entry level for that.
The Vulcan.
And then there's one other one I'm thinking about, and the Vulcan.
Yeah.
The Vulcan kind of pushes it a little bit more though, because that's a
bigger,
multifaceted career ship.
Yeah.
But those ones that stay within that, between $100 and 175 range, something like that. You've got the other, any of the Cutlass series, but the Black in particular, to me, is the most versatile of those ships. But if you want to go into bounty hunting, you got the blue. If you want to do the medical, you've got the red.
Right.
So those ships are that next level that most people step up to at some point. That Avenger fits in between those earlier starters and that. But a lot of people love the Avenger. When they trick it out, they love it. I know the same people do the thing with the Cuddy Black. They trick it out, they love it. But yeah, those other careers. Oh, and then you get the other ships in the I'm sorry, I forgot to mention the Reliant series, where you've got the Science with the Sin, the Mako. You've got those as well.
That's true. And you get some of that with the 300 series too.
Yes.
So
300 series.
The jump from going to those starter ships to some of these, like, because people ask me a lot, hey, I've got an Avenger. What should I do now? And usually I'm like, well, it depends on what you want to do. But one of the obvious choices, just given the limited nature of the game, is to maybe look into getting a Prospector. Do you feel like that kind of like there's enough support to help people get the money to get to that series of ships?
Yeah. I mean, the good thing about the game is that, you can buy things in game, right? And you can rent the Prospector, or you can buy the Prospector in game, which is great. And you can take it out and make enough money, with that rental or that purchase to do other things later in the game. It is an introduction. This is where the difficulty comes in, though, with mining, because mining, like all professions that were, at least I'm hoping that this is the direction that CIG is going, is that they are creating a good amount of depth in mining. Sure, you can go out and just point your laser, but you do have to start understanding what all those little things are on your HUD, right? You've got to understand what all the little dials and readings and everything are, and density and instability. And you can stay within that confine, or you can do hand mining, right? You can begin there even, or go out with a rock or something like that. But there's great depth there too. So a starter person can get into that, and they can grow, and they can get into, consumables and passives.
Yeah.
And they can literally blow out the career, get to a mole, eventually get to an Orion. And that's the good thing, is as you're working your way up, you're also building your abilities and your skills up so that you can, because you can't come in as a starter and get in an Orion. That's not going to happen.
Yeah.
You do have to kind of make that progression as you move up. So, hopefully that's what will happen in all of it. I hope that happens with everything.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
I mean, all the careers you start at, that's part of the learning curve as you build up.
And that's a big knock on the whole pay to win argument, is that you can't just go in and buy a ship and be the best. You actually need to work at it and get good.
Yeah.
So that's pretty important. So in terms of making money, you feel like it's pretty good for new players then?
Between that and cargo, making money, that's the other thing too. Star Citizen, at least, and I'm not trying to speak for Chris Roberts, but I'm going to try and speak based upon what I've heard him say, the overtone. The social dynamic for this game is so important, right?
Yeah.
There are a lot of people who come into this game, and I understand there are people who say, I want to be able to solo, I want to do some things by myself. And I think you should be able to do some things by yourself. You shouldn't have to completely rely on having someone with you. But I also think that he's designing the game so that he's deliberately creating a very deliberate social dynamic to the game. So even if I'm flying my own ship, I still may need your help. If you go out in that Prospector and you say, Griff, I came across an 80% Quantanium. This sucker is 9,000 kilos, and I can't get it all, or I can't crack it. Are you available? I could just show up just long enough to turn the laser on, let you crack it, and leave. And you could have all that dough to yourself. Or you may say, Griff, hey, you come crack it with me. We'll split this bad fella 50-50. There's all these different ways that you can interact and still be a solo player in the game. But let's say I don't have that Prospector. What I could do, though, is I could hear you say, hey, we're going to go down and do Jump Town. You want to jump in the chain with us and load up a ship? You can walk out of here with $2 million today, right?
Yeah.
There's that avenue as a solo player, as a starter, that I could kind of learn the loops of what it means to go to Jump Town. That maybe by myself, going to my ship, I get shot down, I get frustrated. I ride with you and the crew, I get down there and figure out what it's all about. Or I work in the Hammerhead, working a turret, right? And getting paid. There's all types of ways that a starter person can come in with that single little ship, can still do other things in the game.
Yeah. And when people ask about getting into the game and what should I do, I'm almost tempted. I'm not quite there yet, but I'm almost tempted to tell people the default that you should be doing is trying to find an org and just running on somebody else's ship. And I really do hope that once they develop the new player's experience for this game, they could give you a choice, because I know some people just don't want to have to experience other people, but they really should make it so that part of that new player experience requires you to go work a job on another ship before taking a ship out with other people on it. Because like you said, learning those skills, learning the ships, kind of just learning the idea of the game's really important to be able to play with somebody else and find that stuff.
Let me say this, and I hope I don't offend anybody when I say this. I think that, to your point, there's a certain level of learning that comes from interacting with other players. You know, there's also a certain level of discovery when you play by yourself, right? I mean, there is a certain reward to figure out something on your own, you know, or when you're able to go out and do something. There are times I enjoy going into the verse by myself. Maybe it's just because I just want to go look at stuff, right? Or I'm just having a good time. And then there are times when I'm with other people. But I struggle with this thing of people who want to play a MMORPG. Because the term itself says massively multiplayer online role-playing game. Right. And that says to me that regardless of how you feel about it, you got to swallow that there's a fact of this game that is social, and there's a dynamic of connecting with other people. I mean, you got to live with them. Doesn't mean you got to stay on their ship. Right. But it does mean that there's going to be interactions, whether they're one-on-one in the sense of a PvP experience, whether there'll be an experience where I have to jump on, like you said, jump on board with a ship. Maybe it's nothing more than just to get transported. You know, I need to get somewhere. And I don't have a ship here, and I don't have the money to get my ship rebuilt. So I need somebody to transport me and drop me off somewhere. Yeah. So I would hope that people embrace the social dynamic a little bit more, or at least try to when necessary. But at the same time, enjoy the time that you can have in the game on your own.
I'm in agreement. And it seems like most of the time, the debate that I see between how much somebody should have to, you know, function with other people is, can I live in this verse that is multiplayer and ask other people for help when I need it? Or am I going to have to get into the game and play with other people all the time? And I think that I think we can all agree that the former is a good thing to have. Yes. But this game is something that's leaning more towards the latter. Like it clearly wants people. They have this system of making things. Actually, this is a good one. I say this sometimes in my stream, but like people will say, I do not like the medical gameplay. I think it's too complicated. I think it's ridiculous. I think there's too many drugs, all that stuff. And the answer to that for me all the time is you don't have to. All you need is a med pen or somebody else who's a medic, right? Right. So like they have to make all of these professions and stuff so that some people don't like them and don't want to do them, so that multiplayer aspect sort of kicks in. And I hope they continue to really push on that. I think that's going to be really important when it comes to exploration, because if they make exploration too easy, I think most of the population is going to end up being explorers. Yeah.
And CIG is trying to create that game that's going to be around 10, 15, 20 years from now, like Eve, you know, where you've got a game, an MMO, like World of Warcraft, something that's been around for a while. And it's going to take a lot of work to do that. It's no small task, that's for sure. Because just adding systems is not going to be enough. You're going to have to continually do things. And I think that depth you're talking about, where if you want to, like we had some folks on one of the orgs, we did a show on orgs and careers. There was one org, I forget what the Lady Grace's org. They're doctors in real life, and their whole org is nothing but medical people, and they have done nothing but buy endeavors and medical shit because they are so serious. They have been looking forward to that depth. They want to, and they're going to be totally neutral. If you put a beacon out, they'll show up and help you. That's their thing. Okay. Right? That's the level of depth that they want. But then, just like you said, you have that one person that just wants to take out that med pen, boom, hit themselves and keep rolling. Right. The CIG's got to create that balance that allows for both in the world, and that they complement each other. One doesn't overwhelm or overshadow the other one. Yeah. And that's a tough tightrope. Yeah. It really is a tough tightrope.
That is going to be a huge topic, I think, when the cargo refactor starts to get talked about more. We're going to have so many people who are saying, if I have to move boxes in this game, I'm not playing. You'd be like, are you serious? I have to stack boxes? Yeah. Hire someone. Yeah. Find someone who would gladly do it. Come on. There are people out there who are going to want to stack boxes in Star Citizen for a living. Like,
you know, I wrestle with I'm an old man, dude, so you got to forgive me when I say this stuff. I wrestle with this instant gratification dynamic that exists in the world today. When you pull up with your whole D that you got, and they tell you it's going to take 2 hours to unload this ship with NPCs. 2 hours. There's a reason why those restaurants and those bars are in that joint. There are reasons why they're there.
Yeah.
And so it doesn't mean that you have to sit around for 2 hours. What it does mean is that you've got to think about logistics and say, while my hull D is being unloaded, what can I go do while that's going on?
Right.
Because if you're just going to solely push that hull D and that's it, well, maybe it'll be, hey, Keenan, I've got some free time available. Are you out there doing something? Yeah, Griff, come on with me for an hour. I'm waiting on some stuff to be low. I mean, that's the type of thing that we're going to have to be thinking about in the universe. Not can we cut down the load time to 10 minutes?
Yeah.
That's not it. Because You know what happens when we do that? And I hate to say this. I know there may be some people who that time thing's going to be a factor for them. There are going to be some people who just aren't going to play this game. I can just tell you that. It's going to be too much for them.
Absolutely.
Because we have been so conditioned. And I said this a few weeks ago. When I came up with gaming, you know what we bragged about? I would say, Tomato, you say, Griff, how was so-and-so? Man, it took me 100 hours to play that game. You know what we say now? Griff, how was the game? Dude, I finished it in 8 hours.
I beat that in 6 hours,
Totally.
man.
Dude,
Yeah.
totally. We are racing to get to the end of games so much and forgotten what it's like to have a game that you can enjoy forever, that you go through every nook and cranny and that you want to. Because the game developers have gotten so lazy and not created worlds that make us want to explore them, but to get to the end so we can go buy the next DLC. We've got to take back that dynamic of wanting to enjoy a world, enjoy a space of gaming, and get some real gratification, not from the fact that I finished it quickly or I beat everybody, what I was able to do.
Right.
No Man's Sky got out and people were so freaking worried about getting to the center of the verse, but they missed all the millions of other things. Not that there was a lot out there to do, but you get my point.
Yeah.
But you get my point,
yeah, I
right?
got you.
I mean, the middle of the verse was supposed to be, yeah, we'll get there, but what are we seeing on the way there? And that's what I'm hoping Star Citizen does. What is it on the way there? What else? Will I get sidetracked when I go through? I want to go to Nyx, but dude, I got the pyro and saw this lava planet that I just had to go visit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I had to go visit it.
That's huge to build in, because it's not even just the fact that you are playing the game, right? There needs to be progression. Because another problem that these studios have now is that they do see that. They're like, you know what? These people only care about playtimes. Let's just throw in a bunch of extra stuff so that they get 200 hours on the clock and they're still working at it. Now you can say that you played the game for 200. But it's like, no, we need depth, like actual depth in game mechanics. Now, I'm not saying Star Citizen is the paragon of this, but they're very clearly, they're doing so much better at, like you said, building a game system that they're not throwing in cargo refactor. They're not throwing in physicalized cargo because they want to give us something to do. They're throwing in physicalized cargo because people need a job. The economy needs to be slowed down. Certain ships need to have that benefit. Some people need to have something that's it's like it's all built into the DNA of the game. And that kind of stuff, I don't know how they're going to be able to explain that to newcomers. I really don't.
Some of it's going to have to be our own reprogramming a little bit. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I'm just saying it's because it's different. You know what I mean? And and there's going to be tweaking. I remember when we first went from Port O to Evers Harbor, right? When we went to Lorville for the first time. Yeah. It used to take 15 minutes. It was 15 minutes.
You remember they were talking about the idea that you would have to stop twice in between Crusader and Hurston?
Absolutely. So what did they do? They put it in. And at first we were thrilled to death, right? Yeah. But then we said, 15 minutes is a long time. Unless I'm in a Caterpillar or a 600, it's taking forever to get here. Yeah. So what did they do? They tweaked it, right? So now when we travel between those planets, it doesn't feel as painful as it did, before. But they didn't shrink it down to this instantaneous thing. There's still enough time for if we need to sit down as an org and talk about our plans, or if we need some time to fix some things while we're in quantum, there's still that time that's there. And they're going to have to do a lot of that. and I, I want to encourage people all the time. People say, well, this guy's, it's too early. Nothing's written in stone. Don't feel it because it's what it is way right now that it's going to be that way later. We just went through this with the freaking Aries, right? Remember all the stuff we went through? It's like, come on, guys, you've been around long enough to know. Don't get caught up in that. It will get tweaked. It'll get done. Just put your statements in.
Yeah, put in the feedback and let's get on to the next. It was a dead time of year. People needed something to do.
I know. Plus, a size 7 gun for egos is not good. Let's just say that too.
Yeah, somebody's going to be unhappy. But one of the things that people talk about with the time thing for quantum travel that always comes back to me whenever people it's the first thing that comes to my head. People are like, I don't like that quantum takes so long. You should be able to jump and just be there for your friend. And I'm like, what if you're in a dogfight with somebody and they call their friend and their friend is there in 2 seconds to blow you up, right? They didn't plan. They didn't expect you to be there, but because, they had a friend who's 50 million kilometers away in system, that quantum travel gets them there immediately. You're out of the fight. And it's like, it's those kinds of consequences that they need to keep in mind when it's getting into this stuff. And that stuff's going to have to get built into like tutorials and the early missions and
CIG's motto about pushing it to realism as close as possible, then pulling it back to fun is really a good thing to think about for them. The realism, we all enjoy the realism. We enjoy, a lot of those dynamics, but we'd all also lose our minds if it was that real. So they do have to reel it back some, to keep it entertaining and fun.
Yeah.
And again, it's a tightrope that they've had to walk for a while. We've seen them do it. They get their faux pas and there are times where they miss the mark. But then for the most part, when they have brought it together, it's been because of what the community has shared with them. And sometimes it's a matter of us just being patient. Things can't always be fixed when we want them fixed. I'm not a computer developer designer, but I have watched this development over 9 years, and I have seen, when those strides or those hurdles get, when we get past them, and you and I were joking around about earlier, like we have people who say, what's a 30K, right? You and I will never forget what a 30K is. We're telling our grandkids about what a 30K is. But now you've got another generation of players now who have no idea what a 30K is.
Yeah. I mean, we have people who don't I was just the other day, I was playing with a newcomer on my stream and I was like, 3 months ago, we didn't have loot. Like you couldn't even pick up. He was talking about like, I didn't spend any money yet because I've just been looting bodies and getting armor and it's been great. And I'm like, 3 months ago, we literally couldn't even do that. So it's interesting.
True.
There's always going to be waves of people who have never experienced these weird things. And you'll have like this sort of these generations. I feel like people were like, oh yeah, I remember, yada, yada, this happened. Oh, 2021. That was my year. Yeah. That's when I got in.
Yeah, it's true.
But when it comes to learning the game, controls and the tutorials and all that kind of stuff, I think that's probably the weakest point for Star Citizen as a whole.
Do you remember when they had the tutorial in the game? You were around back then? There was an in-game tutorial.
I don't remember it, no. When was that?
We'll have to somebody might have to send him the link for that video. There was this guy, he was a lieutenant colonel somebody, I forget his name now, but you used to go to this hangar and this was in-game. You'd meet this Captain so-and-so, I can't think of his name
Was this after the PU or still in the hangar module?
No, this was in the PU. It wasn't in the PU. It was in the hangar module, I think. It was in the module or something. No, we had the verse when it was going on. It was still around, but it wasn't in the verse, though.
Okay. I never used the hangar.
You would go to this hangar. It was an asteroid hangar. And this guy would talk to you, and he would say, we're going to get you trained up, blah, 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 blah. And he'd say, okay, there's your Gladius over there. So he had a Gladius, and you had a Gladius. It was like a strictly Top Gun kind of thing, dude.
No.
And you'd go get in your ship. And then when you were in it, he'd talk you through it. He'd talk to you. This is how you turn it on. This is how you do this, that, and the other. Then he'd say, all right, now we're going to take you on your first thing. So he would fly his ship up, and then he would strafe it over. And then the doors of the asteroid hangar would open up, and he would go out. Then he'd tell you, now you do it. Then you'd have to go over, bring it over, and then you would take off. Then when you got up above, you would have to follow him.
Huh.
And this is when there was a follow mode in the ship where you used to be able to click on a target and your ship would follow. And you would do maneuvers, and and this was all in the game, dude.
I never experienced that.
It was in the game, and anyway, I will make sure I send you the link.
Yeah,
there's videos out there of it, and then that went away because it got things started changing. The
Right,
model
they realized
changed,
they
all this
wouldn't
other
be
stuff.
able
So
to.
it wasn't work. It didn't match anything anymore. The only thing that happened after that was about 3 years ago, 2-3 years ago, CIG put out a series of 7 videos that were walkthrough videos.
Yeah.
And they talked about everything you did once you got in the ship, and they showed you how to do quantuming, showed you how to use the nav, all of the other stuff. That's been it. And after once you kind of got, that was mostly making you familiar with your ship and how to get around, but that's where it stopped. Now my question is, I hate to use this as an excuse, is an alpha, should there be an official tutorial as an alpha? Because that's the thing that I wrestle with. You know?
Yeah.
And even if it's not a video alpha or an in-game tutorial rather, or whatever, maybe there needs to be something on the website. There needs to be something that keeps us updated with what changes are going on in relation to controls. Because all you get right now is just going to the option screen and trying to figure out all the layout on the keyboard, joystick, and that's no small task for anybody who's coming into the game.
Yeah, it is. I don't know. I don't even know what the answer is. I mean, we do a lot in terms of organizations. People are putting out infographics on Reddit. You got videos on YouTube and streamers. And then there's the new player guide program, right? That's a pretty good thing that they did where they started to get that going. But even then, and this is a separate, I won't get too deep into this because it's a separate talk, but you're taking a phrase that I get from info owners, you're playing the website. You have to go to the website and talk to the person on the website and get all their info on the website and figure out what you want to do and then get in game. I feel like they really need to figure out a way to allow us to meet people in the game.
Yeah. Well, listen, they got people like you. You guys have put out great startup videos. I mean, seriously, you guys have done really good starter videos for people who are coming into the game. And I don't know, I know you guys do that for your own benefit and for the community, but man, I almost wish that they would highlight on their even on the website. They just had a place that if you want to learn how to play the game, here are some creators who, some way to highlight those videos so people know that there is some type of tutorial that helps them get into the game.
They do.
That'd be cool.
They do drop the links to some videos. I feel like they're never the ones that are gameplay related because CIG probably doesn't want to have that liability that they're promoting somebody telling the wrong info or something. But I know they've definitely put Paul's Jump Town videos, in the post for those, and I think I saw somebody else. But it would be nice if they started to at least make some sort of a landing page, because it's the videos are out there, but it is still kind of difficult to watch a 20-minute video and then get into the game and be like, okay, I remember they said that and that. There is something on the progress tracker that I just pulled up here. The player interaction system, which reads, it's a holistic array of complementary features and systems, all related directly to the player status, item status, environment status, as well as interactions with both the game world and the objects within it. And they call it Player Interaction Experience T0 Hints and Interactions. So I think it was maybe a year or two ago when we did have something else on the roadmap that was like the hint system, and it does pop up on the bottom of the screen sometime now.
Right.
Do you think this is a push to try and expand that and make the user interface a little more friendly?
That's about the most that I think it is. To me, I don't see it being much more than that. I mean, we do, like you said, get the little hints that pop up, and the problem is, I've had a couple hints pop up a couple times and I didn't see them fast enough.
Right. Yeah.
So you have to wait for them to cycle back through, hoping that they'll cycle back through. Sometimes they don't. They only come up once and that's it. Again, I struggle because with me being in test, we have channels where if you want to know about mining, you can go there and all the information is there about mining. Right.
Yeah.
But if you don't have that type of resource, even if you wanted to do mining, like you said, you're kind of going to get, somebody says, to get a prospector, you can go out and mine. Then you get out there and it's you don't even know to use the mouse wheel to increase the, you know what I mean?
Or the fact that you rent a prospector and you can't put more stuff on it.
Right.
That's kind of a big one.
Exactly. Right. Exactly. Oh, so I'm just saying there's so much that, again, how do we educate folk?
Yeah.
Beyond what you suggested earlier, which, connecting with other players who can help you. But for that player who's coming in, there's no arrow pointing, go here. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I agree. Especially when it's free flight time. The rest of us, we get it. But when it's free flight and because you mentioned this earlier, people can get turned off And I hate to say it, I saw several people say this, and it blows my mind because it is so true. People went to Lorville and were trying to walk around in Lorville, and they were getting lost. And I can't tell you how many of them said, "Oh my God, there's a sign on the wall that says go here."
Mm-hmm.
Now think about that. We've been handheld so long that we don't even do what we do in natural life, which is to look up on the wall and see if there's an arrow pointing, go here, administrative office that way. We don't even do that in gaming. Chris has gone back and put that stuff in, and we've forgotten that all we had to do was look on the ground or look on the wall and there's a sign, because we've been so used to something that markers off something, some little icon or something that tells us where to go, right?
Yeah.
And so even that type of understanding, once you understand that the verse is made that way, you do start looking for those things now. When you visit a new location, you look for it. When you go into one of those buildings on the moon, the name of it is up there, Rayari Sleep Hub. You know, but if you don't, but
they've got their antennas that show what it's meant for. Yeah.
There you go. But until you know that, you know, you're still looking for, where's that building where I can spawn my thing at? You know, you don't know. Oh, there it is over there. You know.
Yeah.
So learning the design language of the game is important too.
And with this hints and interactions addition, it sounds like I'm hoping at least they're like kind of threading a fine line between, you know, hey, we want to tell you all this information, but we also want you to have to look around, because we're getting FPS radar and maps this summer. I don't know if they're going to start to give us a mini map, how much detail will be on that mini map. It's all in question, but I do hope they stick to that you're pointing out, this idea of, you know, look around, be contextual.
That's a good point.
So it really does seem like, while there is an experience there for newcomers that is enjoyable, it's good, and it can, it's enjoyable and it's accessible. It's a little hard to get into it fully because of the lack of support. And I think that is part of why the community is so great, because everybody depends on the community and to know what to do. And that's always been the biggest strength with this game. And I think, honestly, that is probably the main message I would want to send to anybody who's listening to this. It's just that if you are looking to get into this game, if you're interested in this game, or if you're already part of this game, try to be a little more open to the community, because it's incredibly helpful. It's only going to get better from there, really. And the game's kind of still not in the place where you can just jump in and do it yourself.
Yeah. You know, and also the community this is a very helpful community. I don't want to throw shade on other communities, but there are some communities, if you ask a question, somebody's going to fire on you. You know what I mean? Like, go watch YouTube. You know what I mean? They don't want to tell you anything. Where people here, for the most part, if you ask something, they'll tell you.
Yeah.
You know, now there will be a certain point, like after your 10th question, where they might say, dude, you might want to go look at a YouTube channel. But in general, you know, people, if you're having a problem, you know, if you got a question, people will stop and help you. They really will. Yeah. Really will.
That doesn't mean, you know, hop into every place you can and ask questions. Can you play this game yet? You know, a quick search. But for those more intensive questions, people will definitely help you out. But Griff, this has been a fantastic talk. I think you've always had so much enthusiasm for the game. And every time I have you on, every time I talk with you, people come back to me afterwards and they're just like, I love hearing Griff talk about Star Citizen. He captures what it is that I love about it. And you just got so much great stuff to say. So thank you for coming on today, man.
Dude, thank you as always. Of course, you know, you got to swing back our way now. So we'll have to get you on.
I'd love to get on, man. I'd love to get on.
Yeah, we'd love to have you come back. And we always have a great time when you're on the show. And thanks again for the invitation. I appreciate it.
Of course. It was a little short notice, but I appreciate you coming on today. And speaking of your own show, Soul Citizens, you want to tell everybody where they can find you?
Yeah. You can find Soul Citizens is on Sundays at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. You can find us at SOL Citizens with an S at the end, Soul Citizens, on Twitch. And we're also, of course, we're all on, if you want to catch our old videos, YouTube, you can go there, Soul Citizens as well on YouTube. And then we have a Thursday show, which is our community talk show, where folks who are in our chat can come into our Discord and talk to us about what we review. We usually go over Inside Star Citizen and anything that's going on in the Star Citizen community for that week. And Fast Cart usually hosts that, and we have a lot of cool people that come back every week and hang out with us, and we just kind of have a community talk online. So that's on Thursdays at 10 p.m. Eastern if you guys want to drop by for that.
I need to
Thanks
start
again.
getting to that more. I honestly, I love the talks you guys have, and I catch videos later on, but I always want to be in chat, you know? So I got to
You're
get
always
there.
welcome.
I got to get
Always
there.
welcome.
But yeah, thanks again. And to everybody who has joined, supporters, thank you for watching live. Anybody, if you're on the audio platforms, Apple, Anchor, Spotify, thank you for listening. And if you're watching on YouTube, appreciate it. Consider subscribing and commenting below. And if you'd like to help keep this free for everybody, ad-free, go ahead and hop over to Patreon, where you guys can help support and keep everything coming out to the public. Thank you so much. And actually, this one we'll be finishing up January here. By the time this airs, or I guess the next day after this airs, it'll be Black History Month. Big month. Thank you for, celebrating Black History Month. I assume everybody is. But it is a big month and something that I want to bring more attention to in my own brand than I have in the past. So wanted to mention that before we closed. But thanks again, Griff, for coming, and I'll catch you later, man.
Peace, man. Peace, love, and soul.